Welcome, you pretty little faces. It's Sunday, it's 8 o'clock. The AFL round 4 is done and dusted. And as always, I am PommyInOz and I'm joined by a special guest. He's Carlton-centric, he's Arsenal-centric, he's also SEN's very own. I've got Mr. Paul Sebastiani to take us through the week. Paul, how are you doing, mate?
I'm fantastic. Always good joining you on YouTube and having a chin wag with you and the audience and the listeners and the comments that fly through. So we had a great end to Sunday footy between the Dockers and the Dogs, mate. Two teams that actually know how to play a decent modern brand of football, which is not something we could say about our beloved club. But anywho,
mate, it's good, isn't it? I've said it every week. Melbourne and Carlton are like the nana's floral couch. Like everyone else has upgraded to an IKEA corner sofa. We've still got that one going strong.
Yeah, exactly. We both teams, I think, at the moment are like they're trying to cut a steak with a spoon. At the moment, that's what I like, and I'm not talking about a Wagyu steak, a proper marbleized steak that you probably can cut with a spoon. I'm talking your $2 chuck from the quick sale item at Coles and Woolworths. That's what we're trying to do at the moment.
It's been a tough week. Any team stood out for everyone who's in chat as you're all filtered through? Paul, who stood out for you this week as a team you've taken a little bit of a notice of and gone, oh, they're a bit good?
St Kilda. I know that look, that they've been, you know what I dubbed them, Roadblock FC, that they're of no use to themselves, only hindrance to others. But geez, they had a crack against Port today, didn't they? They really broke them down well. They were efficient. They used their smalls really well. Rowan Marshall got involved. I know he wasn't as involved as he was the week before against Richmond, but he did come up against a pretty good ruckman in Toby Nankervis, and Jordan Sweet's no slouch either. But I was really taken aback by the Saints. I thought that was super impressive. Look, I think Port will be a bottom 4, bottom 6 team this season, but early in the season to travel away with a little bit of pressure on you and no massive expectation on the club, I thought it was a really impressive performance away from home.
Mate, flag Saints in our house. Flag Saints, mate.
Ross the boss, mate. Ross the boss.
Mate, Saint flag. It's fappening. No, I'd agree with you there, Paul. I think they are. Wayne agrees with you as well in chat. They do look pretty good. You know what as well? Geelong. The wily old beast. Everyone forgets about them. They just look ominous as well.
I think that they snuck under the radar last season after Carlton absolutely flogged the daylights out of them in that middle patch last season by over 10 goals. The season just progressed, and when you got to the end of the home and away season, Geelong top 4, where did that come from? It could be the same again this season. They broke down Melbourne really well. Melbourne did make a tussle of it, but I think that's just the case with Melbourne and Carlton at the moment, that they're not quite good enough to beat those teams with the way that they play. They're good enough to make a fist of it, but when push comes to shove and the gears have to go up, you saw what Geelong were able to do in the back end of that game. It got to within about 2 kicks, and then Geelong just put the foot down and were just too good in the end.
Mate, they were very, very good, Geelong. Always going to be there, aren't they? I mean, you hate to say it, but
they don't rebuild. There's no such thing as rebuilding with them. They don't regenerate. They're just out there to have their experienced players do what they need to do, manage them well, bring in youngsters from other leagues, and they have a whole heap of mid-season recruits as well that they like to invest in. And they're just a darn good football club at the moment. They're under investigation or audit, I think, for the time being. But again, innocent till proven guilty, mate.
Mate, those who watched the live stream, I gave people how Pom would cheat the system. So if they did what Pom did, I think they'll be fine. But as always, chat, your favourite time of the week, and Paul gets to do this. This is where we left the power rankings last week. So the rules are, Paul, we can only move teams up and down as we talk about their game. Right. So that's why you get a real fun one. So we'll start with the first game of this round, which was an absolute belter. Carlton Collingwood. Collingwood 17-point win. Paul, did this game tell you anything in the terms of like someone's better than you thought, worse than you thought?
I think it's about where both teams are at the moment. Collingwood went up a gear when they needed to in that third quarter and put Carlton away, and Carlton just rife with inefficiency and can't handle pressure. Can you leave both teams? Can you actually? You know what? I think you might be able. Can you bring Collingwood down a notch? I thought they should have won by more. To be honest, I thought they left a bit on the park. Can you bring them down outside the top four? Is that a possibility? They were completely full strength on the week on Thursday night. I thought they should have won by more than 5 goals. To be honest.
Well, I think they were very inaccurate. I think it flattered us. We haven't done yet, but we have got teams there that have won. So I'm happy to keep them where they are. I don't think that win, I don't know what chat thinks, says they're better than Brisbane, who are above them.
No. Mate, I'm honestly happy to bring them down a notch if we can. How many positions can we move? We can only move down 1. Is that right?
No, mate, teams have moved down 7.
Oh, okay.
But we've never moved a team that's won down. They've gone down because other teams have gone ahead of them.
Okay. No, I think I'd take Collingwood out of the top 4 power rankings for now, but they are my tip for the flag anyway. But I'm happy to take them out based on what I've seen so far.
I mean, Carlton, do you think are Carlton worse than Port?
No, I don't think so. No.
Well, there we are. It's the first time we've had a stalemate. Look at that. This season's going well. But then we've got Geelong. So Matt Lang's in chat. I made a rule because they were number 1 in our pre-season rankings when we first did this. And you can see they've fallen. But there was a rule. Wow. They're not allowed to be out of the top 4. And a moment last week, they were out of the top 8. But Geelong hammering Melbourne, who are 16th on there. I was very impressed because I did say last week they were missing players. Once they come back, Geelong are a bona fide top 5 side.
Yeah, 100%. I'm honestly happy to move them into the top 4 for the time being. They're going to get enough games at home. I thought the way that they handled Melbourne when the pressure went on in the second half of that game was it's just a sight to behold, mate. They're just such a good football team. Just such a good team. And Chris Scott's honesty post-game about the Oscar Allen scenario, I think it's just a chasm into how that club operates at the moment. Very forthright with the way in which they play their football, and they're very authentic, and they're going to be hard to beat down at Cardinia Park this year. They'll probably pencil in most of those games, and they're a very good travelling team as well. They're just a good football team, mate. I'm happy to slide them right up, well above the Bulldogs anyway.
You know what? Where I'm thinking 5th for now.
Yep.
Could we go 4 though?
No, I'm happy to go 5th.
All right, cool. Let's move them.
I'm happy to go 5th. Yep.
And Demons, have Demons said anything to you that says they're cooked in the terms of worse than Richmond and Eagles?
I'd happily have them below Richmond. I think Richmond are. I mean, you look at Richmond's talent and what they've been able to bring in. Long term, I think they're far better proposition than what Melbourne is, and they've actually got a win on the board this season. And they're actually good against Brisbane. Watching back that game, they were actually handy against the Lions. I'm happy to move Melbourne down. I'm more than happy to move Melbourne down. They could win the wooden spoon this year, the D's, the way they're going.
You know what? We didn't move them last week because of Caden. So I'm happy to. I think he should have got moved. This game's going to be a tough one for us to judge because Gold Coast won something that would make Ned Kelly envious of. Adelaide shot up our rankings last week. Gold Coast have won. That was disgusting, though, wasn't it?
The ranking decision and how it all played out at the end of that game. Yeah, it should have been a free kick, but you don't know. we don't know if he'd have kicked the goal or if he'd kicked it behind. We're not 100% sure. And then if he does, the ball goes back to the middle. Who knows what ends up happening, right? I actually thought both teams were super impressive, but for me, it's just Adelaide's defence that I think needs to come to the party. I don't think I've seen enough yet to have them guaranteed as a top four. I mean, based off what they've done in the first month of the season, they look very, very dangerous, but I want to see it for a longer period before absolutely guaranteeing them as a bona fide top four or even final side, to be honest. So can we keep them where they are? Is that okay? Can we maybe even bring them down a notch? Maybe Adelaide down a notch? Happy to keep them in the four, but I think two's a bit seems a bit.
You know what? I was thinking this, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking that we do this.
Oh, I like that. Actually, yeah, have Adelaide and the Suns. Can you have them next to each other like that?
Fifth and sixth.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, I like that.
Because I think last week I did rise Adelaide up because I have got on the Crom train, so I do need to be punished because I shot them up from like 9th to 2nd.
Yeah, that's maybe just a little overstated, but I know, Pommy, you really get excited when you see the numbers start to dart up, and you can't deny that.
I do. I'm well on the Crom train though. Well on, like honestly. The next game was interesting, Brisbane, which I thought gave us a little bit of hope for the Tigs. I made a bold call a couple of weeks ago. The Tigs will win 4 games this year and won't be last. And that game made me smile because I think the Tigers really showed some good heart. And they were just beaten by a genius outfit, weren't they?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's, and we referenced this a couple of weeks ago, and people would have seen on my X account and my Twitter account that I posted that video of Antonio Conte's rant when he left Tottenham, that final famous press conference he had after they drew to Southampton. And he spoke about, and all coaches speak about desire and fight and passion and the fire in your eyes. And you can see it with these Richmond youngsters. No matter what the scoreboard is at the moment, you can see that they're just going to continue to toil away and toil away. And look, they know that they're not good enough at the moment, but eventually there'll be a hope that those youngsters in 3 to 4 years' time will be able to handle the rigors of a long AFL season, and that the physicality in their bodies will be able to deal with it. So I thought they were very impressive in the second half. When the game was looking like it could get away from them, they made Brisbane win that game. And again, look, I don't know what kind of pressure Richmond applies on opposition, but I mean, Brisbane would have been worried if they couldn't handle the pressure of a young Richmond outfit, and they did quite comfortably in the end. But as you mentioned, and we said during that game, Brisbane were they were made to earn it in parts, definitely.
You know what? This is mental, but I'm proposing. I know Hawthorn have got the week off, but I like a little bit of character in my teams, and I think Brisbane being able to dig deep, but also Richmond to make the best team in the competition dig deep means both of them deserve to go up one spot.
Yeah, look, mate. I mean, Brisbane they're the premiers from last season, and they've got, I think, Will Ashcroft, who, of course, don't forget, he came off an ACL halfway through last season as well. Has he looked like he's leveled up just quietly? My goodness. Jesus.
Have you noticed, though, that all due respect to Ashcroft, I don't know what he's done in the off-season, but he has the same hairstyle as every female PE teacher I had at school.
The long, short, blondie locks.
Do you know what I mean? He definitely looks like one of the PE teachers that was stuck in the 80s.
What do you make of his younger brother as well, Levi? He's just slotted in seamlessly, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if only we could all have an academy.
Yeah, I know. The only concern, yeah, exactly. I know. The only concern I've got for Brisbane, it's only one caveat, is replacing Joe Danaher is nigh on impossible in a preseason. I know Logan Morris is in his second season of football, and he's their new great white hope as a key forward, but I doubt that he's going to be able to match the output of Joe Danaher, who was so important in them winning that grand final last season and going on that incredible second run in the second half of the season.
You know what? I've got a similar reservation. Brisbane seem to have left it late in most of their games.
They have,
It'll
haven't
be
they?
it'll be interesting what happens when you can't bully a side. Like, I'm really intrigued about the Dogs game because I feel like the Dogs have got the ability to go toe to toe with you for a bit. It'll be interesting to see, could they afford a 4-goal head start to the Doggies and against a stronger side? I'm intrigued how that works.
Yeah, and if you remember last year at Marvel Stadium when the Lions got the better of them, the Western Bulldogs were really well fancied in that game. They actually went into that game as favourites, and that you have to pay some sort of credence to that too. I know the Doggies will still be without a handful of their absolute guns, but neutral venue next week at Norwood. Dogs come off a look. They were dogged against Fremantle today. They gave it a right bold crack in the second half, and look, had a few things going their way in the last quarter. They might well have won that. But they're a good team. The Doggies, professional outfit. They've made finals more often than not under Luke Beveridge, and they've got a good addition to that midfield in Matt Kennedy. They'll take it right up to the Lions next week. I'm interested to see who people are going to tip in that game next week when we get stuck into it on this.
It's going to be a tough one. It is going to be a tough one to tip, but entertaining, and we come to the next game. A team that was top 4 at the start of the year, they fell out of the 8. Sydney Swans flexing their muscles. Coxball is alive and well, and Root Ball was pretty good for a half, but absolutely imploded in the second half.
Yeah, what did you make of that? Because I actually thought they were really impressive against Adelaide. Adelaide got a whole heap of goals out the back last week, and I thought, okay, well, they're obviously going out there not to protect the scoreboard. That's clear. But then I think Clarko in the second half realised it was getting away from him, and they had sort of 2 spares behind the ball when it was getting out of hand. So I don't really know what to make of this game. It's probably the gap between the two teams. I actually tipped the Roos in this game. I thought they were super, super disappointing, and I think we can we tumble North Melbourne down after that?
Oh, I still think at the moment they're better than us, aren't they? Like they battered Melbourne.
Yeah, they did. They did, didn't they? I'm happy to drop them down, but if we're going to come to an impasse, we'll keep them where they are until proven otherwise.
I mean,
they were shocking.
I'm happy if we maybe reshuffle for now and others something like this. Because we haven't talked about Port yet.
Okay, right. Okay.
But I think we've got to have North there, and I think Carlton have got to be a little bit lower.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. I think that makes sense. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to do that. But Sydney, I want to put Sydney a little bit higher, don't you? Big win.
It was, but I don't trust them yet. I don't think their key forwards are any good, and their key backstocks are not ideal either. I don't know. Look, they've still got a few players to come back in as well, but look, I haven't liked what they've dished up so far this season. I'm happy to leave them there in 9th, just outside the 8 until they get blokes back, and if they can turn that form around and be a lot more consistent, because they seem, I don't know, they look a little bit vulnerable at the moment, the Swans. That's what I'm looking at, and it won't get any easier for them next week against Collingwood at Adelaide Oval either. I know I'm forecasting ahead, but I'm happy to leave them where they are.
Tell you what, Langy wants to move us to 16th.
Not the worst call.
Tell you what, Langy, right? You guaranteed that I would move Geelong, right? So I'm not going to argue you.
All of a sudden, we've just moved the Blues down to 16th.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with you, Langy, because you guaranteed within 2 weeks Pom would have Geelong out of the 8, and they were. So there you are. You know what, Langy? You're a man of culture. I will. If we're doing it, we'll do it right. We'll do it right. Maybe we've been too nice to Carlton.
You know what I want to do, and we will get to it, but see, I want to move St Kilda above Sydney. That's what I want to do.
Well, I mean, we're gonna
Okay,
come to one that
we'll get to that.
think is really hard, and that is Eagles versus Giants, right? Because
Yep.
Giants were mighty impressive,
Yeah.
right? But they did play against a team that wasn't even real at the time. Like honestly, the Eagles for me were embarrassing for a whole half.
Yeah, they
Um,
were
but
shocking.
the Giants, their slingshot is scary good, and Darcy Jones might be my new favorite player.
Can we catapult the Giants up into fourth and shuffle them all down? Can we shuffle everybody down? Can we do
We
that?
can,
Let's do
yeah,
that. Let's
yeah.
get the Giants into fourth and let's shuffle the Crows. Let's shuffle the Cats, Crows, and Suns into that spot because I still think those teams at the moment, on the basis of what we've seen, the Suns and the Crows, I think they're entrenched or they're well in the top eight. Well in the top eight.
Do you know what I mean? This
I think that's
is
looking good.
this is brilliant. This is brilliant. I think we've got Brisbane Hawks, Collingwood Giants, Geelong, Adelaide. Ooh, this is good, and we're going to get the best team to talk about now. You wanted to talk about the Saints. I guaranteed some of the Saints fans in the preview last week that they were definitely going to win, and some Saints fans hated it because evidently I'm a curse. But the Saints, absolutely masterclass.
They
Ross
did.
Ball,
Yeah, yeah.
Ross
He's a
Ball.
genius.
It's the best football in the world.
He's a genius. He's a genius. They were so impressive today against Port. Super impressive. I think, do you know what? It's more the way I know they put a gap on them in that first half, right? But for me, I don't think people will make enough of the way they close the game out, Pom. You know how big we are on closing a game out and managing it properly. And Port Adelaide had a few moments, a few flurries in that last quarter where they could have got a bit of a run on. But the way Ross's team closed that game down, I thought was super impressive.
When Mitch Giardis kicked that goal and he brought
Mm,
it back to within 8,
mm.
I had a bit of a squeaky bum time. I had a bet on the legends that are Saints, and my bum twitched a bit. But but the ease in which they took that game back, scored two
Yeah.
quick goals, and controlled it, considering they were under a bombardment in that first 10 minutes, I was like, the Saints are the real deal.
I think they can make finals with what they've shown so far. They've had some younger blokes who I think have just taken that leap up, and I think he mentions for our partners of. That's elite. That is brilliant. I can confirm that's not my alias profile, by the way. That's a great call. I think Lance Collard has matured a lot in the off-season. Such a special talent, Lance Collard. He's so zippy. He kicked what was ultimately the match-winning goal, and they're going to be tough to beat the Saints this year. They're not going to be the easy beats we've seen in recent seasons, and there's no reason why they can't make the 8 this season. I wouldn't have thought. I don't think they're a premiership threat, but they can definitely get into the bottom end of the 8. I think 10th is fine, Pom. Are you okay with holding them there for the time being, or do you want to move them up?
I was going to sneak them in above the Dogs.
You want to go 8?
Because
let's go 8.
Because as Riley, good day from Pomland, Riley, I've got Giants on fraud watch.
Really?
I think they're fraudulent.
Right.
I think they were impressive today. I question them doing that against a team that fights. I'm going to tip it now. I guarantee Saints beat GWS next week.
Wow. Okay. Right. At the neutral venue. Wow. Norwood Oval.
Do you know what I mean? A Ross masterclass. And you know what? If Mitch is in chat, good mate of the channel, mate, if the lid's not off with Saint Ball now, it will be next week, mate. Mate, we're booking September off. We're getting on the piss when you get to the granny.
I think on the edge of the 8 sounds about right. I would maybe just have the Doggies just slightly ahead, but flip of the coin either way. You can almost have them. You can have them 8.5, Pommy. I think that's where you can have them.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think because we're going to come and talk about them. The Doggies versus Freo. You know what? I was huge on Fremantle at the start of this week. They were going to beat the Doggies. I was like, I think they needed that win. And I pray to God that this works with Carlton as well, this theory. That if you just win, it makes everything better and everything clicks. I thought Freo were mighty impressive because I think the Dogs are playing probably the best system in the league at the minute, considering the players missing. Like think about it. You've replaced Treloar and Bontempelli with Matt Kennedy and Riley West. Honestly, that's like going from that's like going from having a Ferrari to a Datsun, innit? That's huge.
Have you seen a more impressive 10-minute patch from Fremantle under Justin Longmuir than what they showed in the final 10 minutes of that second quarter when they just put the Bulldogs away? That was just so impressive. The way in which they buried them and were they were just so convincing. They were so assertive with the way they wanted to move the ball. They were accurate. And the Dogs had no answers in that 10-minute patch. It was similar to what they did back in that final a couple of seasons ago.
You know what as well? And I hate to talk about Carlton, but their midfield, Fremantle's, every possession they have is impactful versus, a team like Carlton that might have two guys with 30. If Sarong has 20, Brayshaw has 25, they hurt the opposition 55 times.
Correct.
It's crazy to watch just how impactful they are. Every touch seems to count. So I think Fremantle here have got to sneak into our 8.
Can we sneak them into the 8?
And have, because you said Saints 8.5.
Yep.
So if we put Fremantle 8.
I'm happy. The reason I'm happy to have the Dogs ahead of Fremantle is because of the inclusions that the Bulldogs still have to come and the way that they played and the way that they've played so far. I'm happy to have them above Freo for the time being. Freo a fraud watch on my end, right? But I'm happy to have them above Sydney, I think, as well. But I think that 6th to 10th, you can almost raffle it off between those teams, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe even 5th.
I know there's a lot of Carlton fans in chat, but I think genuinely, if we're serious, Pies have got to be in your top 4.
Purely, I agree. Oh, mate, I told you I've got them to win the flag. I think.
Do you know what I mean? Purely because they've done it, and I don't think injuries will be a concern. No. Hawks, brilliant. Brisbane, brilliant. I think Hawks will be back to number 1. GWS I've got on fraud watch because they just strike me as they're like Tim Suey, the boxer. They'll beat up. Yeah, they'll beat up a mid-range boxer, but once he gets to the top 4, he gets found out. Geelong definitely will be in at that 4 if you're not good enough. Adelaide, a Vibe FC. Gold Coast, a Vibe FC as well for me at the minute.
Correct.
I think 8th, genuinely, I think at this stage in time, 8th is the hardest to call.
Yeah. Not the worst shout. Not the worst shout.
Do you know what I mean? I just think it. I think it works. I think it works. It's going to be interesting because I think the Pies have got some tough fixtures, but so far, as much as I hate the Pies, every question they've been asked, they've answered so far.
They have, and that the first game I think against the Giants was a little bit of a. Was it a bit of an outlier? I think it was traveling away first game. Blokes that I don't think they were really geared up for that match. I wouldn't have thought, and you just knew that the Giants were going to win that game. I thought I tipped the Giants in that first game, and I don't think they'd be too worried. Since that match, they've been mighty impressive.
No, I agree, and I said it in my review of the Collingwood's first game. I've never seen a fly side have no intensity, no ball use. in the same game. Like it's usually one fails. I love this from Riley. Southport above Southport in 15th. You think? So if we put Southport just in between Essendon,
they were brilliant.
you know what though? It's going to be interesting because as much as I love the Blues, I think they win the next two, and next week's going to be an interesting one because can you really move the Blues if they beat 18th on your power ranking?
And then the week after that as well, can you move them up if they beat North Melbourne on your power rankings? Probably not. It depends on how it's done, Pommy. We know as much as the opponents and the way and who you actually play are a big thing in rankings and where you put your team, but it's how you go about it, how you beat the opposition.
Mate, it's a fun exercise, this. We just do it round by round, game by game, so it makes it hard to get it accurate, but I think it's a fun exercise. It is a fun exercise because I think the top 8 is taking shape. It's slowly taking shape there.
Can we ask the chat, do we think that the power rankings, is there one team that you think is completely wrong? Because everybody will have their own opinion and everybody, yeah, there you go. Richmond at 14, please. See? You
see, I'm with you there because I think I think if I was doing this purely on what I've seen as a collection, I would have Carlton and Richmond probably swapped round because I have no doubt in my mind Carlton beat Essendon, North Melbourne, Richmond if they play them again, Melbourne and Eagles.
Yeah, right. Okay.
As bad as we are.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Do you know what
I mean? And but that's also taking into account what might happen. That's why I wanted to do it this way because I think you might see one of them top 6 start like a Trojan, but in 12 weeks' time, they might absolutely implode.
It happens every year. Happens every year, Pom. Every single year this happens.
Like Port, I think are very lucky to be 12th the way we've done this, but I do actually think they are probably 12th.
Yeah,
I think they're the best of the mid-table sides.
Yeah. Let's not forget too. What did Hawthorn start last season? Were they 0-5 before they shot right up the rankings and shot right up into premiership and finals contention? They were 0-5. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with Tate and Tantrum here as well. Like I think Gold Coast, they haven't really beaten anyone. But I always say this: you can only beat who you play. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, it'd be great to see Gold Coast do that to Hawthorn. But we have to wait till like round 30.
Correct. But look, the way they've done it in my eyes, I think has been super impressive.
Mate, it's good. Well, that is the power rankings for a week. We don't have to worry about that for an entire week now, chat, which is always exciting because that's my favourite. I like power rankings. It's a good way to review the week.
It's good fun, and then you can go back on them at the end of the year and go week by week and see how right or wrong you got it.
Yeah, and Matt Lang keeps a monitor and me saying this team can never fall down. And next week, I'll probably lambast a team and put them 18th because they've done my head.
That's the game, isn't it? That's sport. It's a numbers game. That's the way it works. You make your decisions based off what you see in the numbers.
Mate, it's one of them tough ones. It's a tough one, mate. It's a tough world that we live in. I tell you,
I think you should do when the end of the season comes around and we get the ladder at the end of the home and away season. Compare the power rankings after the first month, right here, to what it was and to what it is come the end of the season, and see how right or wrong you got it.
Well, I mean, hopefully we get it right. Hopefully,
yeah.
But I will do it. We will do it. I think after the bye, once we've had like 12 games, we can start doing it a weekly versus the real ladder and see.
Yeah, I love it.
See how stupid we are. But it's good fun. It's good fun. Like, you know what? That's the least you've complained about that chat as well. Like usually there's a lot of arguments in there, but you've been
look at the two who are talking about it at the moment. I mean, come on.
Mate,
come on.
Mate, even more reason to complain about it. But you know what?
We are people. We are the people of the people. That's
Mate,
who we
that's it. That is it. Well, we've got everyone's favourite game, and this is where the audience can help Paul here, because Paul will need it. But we have got one of the biggest events in musical history. We have got, where is it? Guess the player. So let me make us smaller.
Ooh,
This is very important. You can see here Let Dog leading. So what you're going to do is it's a bit like a game of charades. I will name you a player through the medium of weird wordplay. So Marnie probably technically should be the best, because it took her 35 seconds to guess Harry Sheezel when I said the first name is a prince in the UK. The surname, his surname rhymes with a famous cheesy snack. And after 29 seconds, I just had to resort to Marnie, he's Jewish. And she was straight away Sheezel. And I was like, Jesus, man, come on. This is easy. But Let Dog is the winner of this. He's doing very well. So I will put on the screen a countdown for a minute. So let me find the countdown. There it is. Make sure I do a minute, because last time I gave someone an hour.
Okay, right. So how many players do we get?
Mate, random. So all I can tell you is you are getting defenders. And we're aiming to beat 4 or more.
Oh, okay.
To get you on the leaderboard, mate. That's because that is all we want. Big boy ting. So I will put this stopwatch on the screen, which you should see now. Right?
There we go.
And I will start when you are ready. Are you ready?
Ready, Freddie.
Okay, here we go. So shout out so you can help him. Okay, first one. Surname, basic easy one. We've got his shit brother. He's a defender. He also plays defense for us. Yeah, the good one though.
Oh, Jeremy McGovern.
Yeah, cool. There's one. This guy is sensational. It sounds like they've spelt rice wrong.
Bice?
Yeah, well done. That's 2. Third one. His surname is what you would call someone who is a very posh gentleman. His first name is the most common English name in the world. Plays for Gold Coast. But he would be a something man. Used to play for Collingwood. Blonde hair.
I used to play for Collingwood.
Now at Gold Coast.
Noble.
Yeah, cool, 3. Number 4, his surname is a famous fast food restaurant. Everyone goes through it in the drive-through. We used to have... Yeah, well done. Last one. I've started, so I finished. That is the rule. Right, so, Paul, you have got... This guy's first name is someone that works with stone, and the surname is a famous rapper, right, who would be the opposite of a Smurf.
Rapper who would be the opposite of a Smurf.
Yeah, or what if you got the opposite colour of a Smurf, you would say he is a... and he works with stone. It's his first name, Stone.
Oh, dearie me. Mason.
Yeah.
Mason Wood?
Yeah. No, think something man.
Something
opposite colour of blue.
What's the opposite colour of blue? Why am I not being able to get this? Mason.
Defender. Something opposite of blue. Think of a colour.
Oh. Does he play for... Is it Mason opposite of blue? Green, orange, red, Mason Red.
Chat throwing it out there, Paul.
Oh, Mason Redman. There you go.
Well done. You know what? I count it. Paul is the new leader. 5.
Mason Redman. The opposite of blue. Oh, dearie me.
Mate, that was hard work, that, mate. You did well, though. You did well. We were flying.
I like the opposite. What was it? He spelt rice the wrong way. That was very good.
Mate,
oh, my God.
Mate, you've got to sometimes think of this, but Paul, you did very well there, mate. Honestly, look, tell you what, 5 is a good score. I think the record last year, we did it for 2 minutes. I think it was 6. So I reckon
right.
5 will be hard to beat.
I'll make it a 4.75 because I got a lot of help with that last one.
Well,
got a lot of help.
all the content creators have had help from the chat. Just some of them didn't use them.
Thank you, chat. I will give that last one to the chat.
Like, you know what? Paul actually used chat for once. Chat are really good at it.
Hey,
like,
mate, you said it's there for a reason. We need the help when if we can use help, we'll use it.
Because I reckon Dog and Marnie could have had a lot higher if they'd used the chat. Because you guys in chat, they were like capital lettering Sheasel. Like, I didn't know how else to word it. And then I was just like, I'm just going to have to go with Jewish. It's all I've got left. I was like, how else can I describe the guy?
The first one was very funny. Jeremy McGovern.
Yeah, we've got the shit one. He's the good one. He's the good one. Well, now we go to the best bit of the week. So we have a special prize here. So I am finishing last on this, which is really good. But you can see here, Dog, as we would expect, considering Dog is a SuperCoach intelligent genius, he is winning this, 780.
He knows.
Marnie's never played SuperCoach. He's second. Got Caden third, Pom propping up the ladder, just pretending he's Carlton. And here, you know what I mean? And here we are. We've got Team Paolo, which should be on your screen now. So let me move us so we're not in the way. There we are. Mm-hmm. Look at that. There we are. Almost like I planned it. So there you are. You see, Paul, take it away. What team have you gone with this week?
So this weekend, I've gone with some big men, Pommy. I've only gone small in the midfield, but I've gone with the big men around the grounds. I don't think they've been given a lot of love so far this season, and I think they're going to score. I think they're going to score quite handsomely next week. So we'll start with the defenders. I've gone Stephen May and Tommy Stewart. Now, the reason I've gone Stephen May and Tommy Stewart, both games I view as 50-50s, and I think both teams are going to cop, I don't want to say a lot of inside 50s against, but I look at Geelong, they're playing Adelaide at Adelaide Oval next week, and you would suspect, given it's gather round, given Adelaide are opening up the season, that Adelaide will want to really be on the offensive and move that ball as much as they can inside forward 50 to their tall targets. But they've got a man in the way called Tom Stewart. And he is an absolute gun. He's one of the best intercept defenders in the league. And he's not a dour defender. He can win the ball as much as a midfielder. We saw it last week. He can get upwards of 20, 25 disposals. He's an intercept defender as well. He can be part of score change. So I was happy to throw him in there. And the same can be said for Stephen May as well. There you go, Paul. Steve May takes all the kick-ins. And given the fact that they're playing against Essendon, whose tall forward department I don't think is absolutely amazing. And I think Stephen May can get off the chain against Essendon on the weekend. So I was happy to go with those two. I think they're both going to have field days, just given the fact that, one, Stewart's going to have a tough time of it because of the 3 Adelaide talls. But I do think the ball will spend a lot of time in that back half of Geelong. And the same can be said for Stephen May, but he doesn't have those gun tall defenders to deal with. So I think he can play a little bit more loose than he usually does. He's a brilliant reader of the ball as well. So, was happy to throw those two in there, mate. I don't know what the chat thinks, but May and Stewart for me.
Mate, I don't mind it. Look, I'm not great at SuperCoach, but this looks good to me. Looks good. I mean, I love your midfield. Two of, I think, the least talked about midfielders in the comp.
Yep. Going to go Sarong purely because they come up against Richmond. And I think the Dockers have just found their groove after what we saw against the Bulldogs. I'm just looking at his score now. I wanted to wait because I was putting this team together, and then I had a look at his first half numbers, and I thought, am I going to keep him in or take him out? And then he just went to work in the second half, ended up with 38 touches and well in excess of 100 points for SuperCoach. And I think the same will occur against Richmond and Merritt. I mean, he's really the only Essendon midfielder, isn't he? I mean, they've got some decent players underneath him, but he's the man at the moment. And given the fact that they're playing against Melbourne, who have got their own struggles at the moment, I think, and you look at Melbourne, they're not really a defensive midfield, are they, Pommy? You've got Oliver, you've got Petrarca. They're all looking to get ahead of the ball as well. And I think Merritt will find the ball quite easily against Melbourne. So going for those two, my man.
You know what did excite me, though? You've got the main man in the forward line.
Yes.
Paul's guaranteed me 4 points this weekend.
Yep. Yeah, Charlie Curnow, you just have to go look at his form against West Coast in the past. I think he didn't play against them last year, but prior to that, his two most recent games, he kicked 9 and 10, I believe, from memory. So, he's got a sensational record against the Eagles. And it just, how many times do you see this, Pommy, where a team struggle early in the year, their big gun forward is just sort of struggling to find his footing and struggling to find a big patch of form, and then they come up against the team that's not really travelling well, and they're expected to beat it. And look, West Coast defence without McGovern, I think is really, really going to struggle. You saw it today; they could barely handle Jesse Hogan. He kicked 9. I'm expecting something similar from Charlie next weekend, and I think Ben King, Gold Coast v North Melbourne. How many key defenders do North Melbourne have that can handle Ben King, Pommy? I wouldn't have thought many. Competent.
You know what? That is one area that does baffle me with North Melbourne. That they haven't addressed it at all. And yeah, it's not great, is it? Like they are a team I look at and think, how do you not concede 300 every week?
Yeah. No, they were. I think Ben King will get a hold of them next weekend. And the ruck, I've gone with the big lad from the Sainers, Rowan Marshall. He had a little bit of a down one against Port Adelaide, but it's the way he covers the ground. He's one of these ruckmen. And look, you see it now more often than not that they get in excess of 20 disposals. They get free points from hitouts as well. So, there's an automatic 25 to 30 points in the locker. Away you go. Marshall for me, up against the Giants.
Yeah, you know what? I've just checked the odds. They have been undervalued by the bookies. There's only 10 cents separating St Kilda and Port beating Hawks.
Is that right?
That's mental. Who set the odds on that? Honestly, I'll stick by it. Saints beat Giants.
There is a saying, you always have to respect the market, but there is also a point with which if you see odds and they look completely wrong, you got to back your judgment.
Yeah, you know what? Is anyone else looking at Richmond versus Fremantle and just slightly thinking there's a little bit of vulnerability about them Dockers, I think.
How about
Could
the
Richmond ask the question?
Would you take $1.19 about Carlton at the moment?
I watched West Coast today, and I'll stand by my comment. If Carlton lose to West Coast, I'm not doing videos on how you fix it. I am just saying, let's save the AFL 20 million, and we'll just fuck off to Tassie.
I'll join you.
Honestly, no offense to the Eagles, but they were proper bad.
They were horrendous.
Honestly, if they lose that game, spoiler, my 22 in the team's selection show will be 22 ins, 22 outs. No one will play.
Good call.
Honestly, I watched them and I was like, you couldn't get any better. If you tried.
All right.
Well, we've got the tips now for next week. So, Caden picked me this week by 1. Thank you, Adelaide. The Adelaide game again separated us. And the week before, Lek Dog won because the chat bullied me into taking Carlton versus the Dogs, which I didn't want to do. So thanks, chat. But this week, let's do this together. First game, Paul. Crows versus Cats. Who are we tipping here?
Crows. Yep. Yeah, back home, opening up, gather round. I think they'll get the job done. They were super impressive against Gold Coast. Really hard to go up to People First Stadium and get the win. They've made that ground a fortress. Have the Suns under Dimmer, and I think they'll get the job done against the Cats. Great game to start the round.
Mate, I'm with you. Crom all the way. Honestly,
Mhm.
Sid Draper's Crom. I'm all about them. Pies versus Swans. Who were you tipping in that one?
Ooh, Pies in a tight one. That's going to be a great game as well. I think the Pies will win.
You know what? I'm going to follow you with the Pies. Okay, Roos Suns.
That's fait accompli. I think Suns pretty comfortably.
It's interstate,
Yeah.
and even though both sides don't travel well,
Suns are
I'm
playing
not.
good football.
I'm not taking me risk there. Blues Eagles. Are we in agreement here that there is no way Carlton lose this game?
No, Carlton by 10 goals. Yeah, they'll win this comfortably.
Paul's way more confident than me. Just so you know, chat, that can be the leveler.
They'll win this game pretty easily.
I've got 5 goals. Dogs versus Lions. Who are you going with here?
You know what? I'm going to tip the Bulldogs here. I'm going to tip the Bulldogs. Yeah, I don't know. I just like them. I like them this year. I know we've got the Lions on top in our rankings, but I'm going to go the Doggies. This is going to be my different tip. This is going to be my outsider for the round. I think I know they're outsider. They're $2.50, but yeah, they are the outsider with the bookies. So I'm going to tip the Dogs this week.
I'm going to go with the Lions this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go with them Maroons. Demons, Bombers. This really, I reckon this, basing it on EPL, everyone knows the best game every weekend is your Southampton versus Leicester. Right?
Absolutely.
This is the game of the round straight away. Demons, Bombers. Who you going here?
Bombers by 2 points.
You know what?
Like
I'm going
to. Here we go. Demons 37, Essendon 42.
mate, you know what? I've got the Bombers winning this by 5 goals. I think there's something about the Bombers when their tail wags. I like it. I like it.
I think the Bombers will win.
So we are on Tigers versus Freo.
Freo for me. Yep. Definitely Freo.
Freo, I love it. Right, so let me just I'll put it on here so you can see it, chat, because for some reason it's not updating. Right, I'll do it on the Canva. You should be able to see it now in full HD.
Oh, look at that! Bang.
There you are. Right. So who did you say in that one, Paul?
I'm going with Freo.
Yeah, Freo. Okay, Saints GWS.
I'm going to go with. I really like the Giants. I'm going to go the Giants. Yeah.
You know what?
Even though the Saints were impressive against Port, I'm going to give the Giants the tip here. Oh, head to head.
You know what? I'm going the Saints. Chat, you're infecting me. You Adelaide and Saints fans, you're infecting me. Up the Saints. And we finish with what really we're going to see what Port are made of. Home crowd, partisan atmosphere. But they're taking on the Hawks. Replay of that aggressive final. Who you got here?
I don't think this is as one-sided as many people think, Pommy. Are you in agreement with that?
It's either going to be a nail biter or Hawks are going to, or Mitchell's going to get inside their head and say these guys did a number on us when we should have won. And Sam Mitchell strikes me as one of them guys who holds a grudge. I could see them coming out with absolutely fire.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like absolute fire because he's got inside their head and say, we beat these by 10, 15 goals.
Yeah. How many times have Port lost 2 in a row at Adelaide Oval? It's been a long time since that's happened.
It is usually a fortress, but I mean, hot ball, mate. Hot ball.
I know. Yeah, look, you got to tip Hawthorn. You have to tip Hawthorn, but just don't be surprised if this is a lot closer than many people think. That's what I'm going to say. But I will tip the Hawks.
Do you know what I mean? And look, for you guys at home, here's the 2 tips we've disagreed on. We're deaf riding Saints GWS and Lions Dogs. You know what? I reckon that they are ripping games, but we've agreed on everything else. Hawks, I reckon the Hawk game will be the best game, though. Like, will be the best game for
Yeah.
entertainment value.
Yeah, I think this gather round is sensational. I think all the matches head to head are they're perfect, absolutely perfect. AFL. Look, I know we can the AFL ad nausea, and we do it more often than not. But I think they've got this completely right. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
You know what? It's going to be it's going to be a fascinating round. And before we wrap it up, let's go to Mrs. Pom has got a big cash prize for this competition. It was free to enter. All you had to do was follow the channel. And we can see we have got an absolute mammoth race up at the top.
Wow, look at that.
Flame scraping his 1 point lead. But some bold human beings in this chat made some gravy train going against the grain with St Kilda. Scotty, Claire, Churchy, Pom sneaking into the top 10.
Hey,
Look at this chat. Look at that. Absolutely robbed. One of 4 people to tip Adelaide. Absolutely robbed. I can't win it, though. Mrs. Pom forgot to put a tip in, so she got a 0 on there, but she did tip very well until she actually backed Port against her team. So that's what you get. And then we go down to the guys now with a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Did anyone get 8? I don't think so. No, not in.
Let's have a look. So we've had full house every week. Did someone full house it this week?
Doesn't look.
No, we had a lot of 7s though.
No.
Can I just say, Methodical Flame and Vossi the Boss to have a 1 point margin in the margin game is mental.
That's great. That's really well done there.
Tiger Time as well. He's come from nowhere. Poor tip at the first week, but he's been averaging just 1 wrong every week.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean? Good representation as well from the girls, I've got to say. Girls,
absolutely. They know their stuff.
Girls putting the boys under a bit of pressure in this, but you know what? Also, shout out Peter Haywood, big Villa fan. He's like his Villa. He's got into the Champions League spots.
There you go. They I was going to say they had a very big win against Nottingham Forest earlier in the morning, 2-1. Very big win.
It would have been a game that was impressive in the 80s. That 2 top teams.
Well, they're 2 OG teams from the 80s, are they not?
Yeah, they are, and I mean, gives us hope for Carlton. The 80s is making a return, so maybe contested football this time next year. We might be onto something. Hey, we might be onto something.
Yeah, we're going to win our next 6 in a row.
Yeah. Hey, mate, look, 4-2, mate, coming into Geelong. Vibes are going to be high.
Oh, Jesus, God help us.
Vibes are going to be high. But, Paul, what have you got on for the rest of the week? Where can the lovely people find you this week?
Mate, I don't think anywhere. I've got work all week. I don't think I'm going to be making an appearance on any show, on anything this week. I've got work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I've got work all week. So on X, you can find me. On Twitter, I'll be vocal on there. But I don't have any podcasts or anything coming up. But Jumper Punch, I'll be up on Tuesday night. I'll probably make an appearance on fan cams after the Eagles and Blues game. And you can find me at SEN. Pommy, we've got the Premier League preview show tonight. We've got a big Manchester derby coming up as well. And I'll be live on SEN and SEN Track. So plenty to get through, my man. Plenty to get through.
Mate, got loads on. So make sure you head there, put Paul's socials in the chat. If you click that, you can stay informed. Uncle Pommy, do you think Mackay should have played against Pies? Nah, I think he needs to get himself right, man. Like, I'd rather him just get him some form and be good, because long season, isn't it? Like, let's just say we do the unthinkable, win 5 of the next 6. I'd rather a fit Harry round 20 than him not. For me, you'll see me tomorrow on the rating show on Blue Abroad. I've got the VFL report tomorrow morning. A load of content. We've got the week that was, the review show for all the games in detail as well, going up tomorrow. And a load of watch-alongs and lives. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much, Paul. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone.
Much
And
love, guys.
see you next week when Carlton have got 4 points.